That's all right.
Short people problem.
Anyway, the short version, you better walk it on. Listen to this. Started traveling back and forth.
Good morning.
Right.
I'm going to ask everyone to come up to the table. If you don't mind, we won't bite you, I promise. We're going to get a little cozy this morning. Come on in and take a seat for me at the table. Elizabeth, you can sit at the table. We have a chair just for you. Okay. Sit where you'd like. Hi there. I hear traffic's a little heavy this morning, and we're in our second day of school starting. So I think that's probably impacting us just a little bit this morning. But I do want to welcome you to Fresh Start Mornings, our first Wednesday of the month at the circuit. And you're in for a treat with Mr. Colin 8. Thank you. Every week they say, stand over there, stand over there. You think I'd get it? You think I'd get it by now, don't you? Welcome, I'm Lee Smith. I'm with the Cherokee Office of Economic Development. And I'm so happy that you're here with us this morning. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we get into our presentation, I want you to know who we are. Who is Cherokee Office of Economic Development? What do we do? We're quite diverse and quite unique. A coffee grinder going in the background. We're going to dig, we're going to grind, and we're going to hatch for our small businesses through Fresh Start Cherokee. And we're here at Fresh Start Mornings, and this initiative is under Fresh Start Cherokee, and it's designed to support our small businesses, our local entrepreneurs here in the community through presentations just like this, where a business might pitch, share their challenges, or you might learn about a resource in the community that you can have access to. The circuit. We're sitting in the circuit, this beautiful space where students and the community and local businesses can come and meet. You can rent space, a hot desk, a dedicated desk, a private office, if you need that. To come and work work on your business. And then NAV, I say we elevate it with NAV. It's kind of the next step up for those entrepreneurs who are ready to scale and grow and want to participate in a mentoring program to really work on their business. And then, of course, we have community partners because we can't do it alone. So our county and our city and our volunteers here, Circle of Friends, is so gracious to provide our coffee when we're here on the first Wednesday. Reformation Brewery hosts us on the third Wednesday. Space and coffee. Muller IT Night Services. And then Corridor Publishing. Gerald's here to help us with our live stream for us. And then I'm going to turn it over to our presenter. Some of you already know who he is. He's not a stranger in the room, but he's here to roll out and introduce to you HatchBridge Incubator, which is a new resource at KSU. So one of our initiatives at the co-ed office is to see how can we collaborate with our universities, and KSU is around the corner. So we are looking forward to working with them hopefully in the future, but he's here today, Colin. So let me tell you a little bit about him, and then I'll turn it over to him. He is the Director of Incubation and Commercialization at KSU. He is here to hatch, literally, HatchBridge Incubator and get that off the ground, brand new. He has a significant background in working with early stage and scaling deep tech startups. So he's not new to entrepreneurship. Something really cool about him is that he developed new business models around rockets as a service to Maston Space Systems from 2009-2013, where he rejoined the company from 20 to 22 and scaled it from 12 to 120 employees. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Management and MBA from Georgia Tech. He's one of our NAV mentors, so he mentors a couple of our businesses. And then most importantly, he's a dedicated husband and father of 3, and he's here today to share HatchBridge Incubator.
Thank you, Lee. Good morning.
Morning.
It's good to see you. I know most of y'all, so this is good and bad because you know me, and that means the presentation is going to be a little more informal for anyone online. Apologies. I also have to figure out where I can stand and not stand, so with this projector and that projector, it's going to mess with me a little bit. But it's real good to be here. It's real good to be here and have an opportunity to spend some time sharing about what we're working on at Kennesaw State, at HatchBridge, and what we're building, and how we think that can dovetail with the community here in Cherokee, and with the businesses that we want to build and grow and support. So, I'm Colin. Y'all know me, most of y'all know me. My background is largely between jumping, I'm being told to walk this way. Can I stand here? It's right here. It's really hard to talk while I stand still. This is not I'm going to like move back and forth. My background is largely between universities in commercialization and startup world, and with startups themselves, early stage companies, building business models. That is what I have been fortunate enough to get to spend my career on, somewhat by accident, and it's a lot of fun. So I have really enjoyed being a part of the programs here at Cherokee. Now, since it started, working with the different companies, we've got a couple really good companies that I'm working with. Ray's here with me. He's on one of my mentor teams. I don't know, I think having spent time in and around the university environment, having spent time in startups, having support from a community to help build businesses locally is really important. And I think it's also really important that our universities spend time in the ecosystem around them, lending their resources and expertise, and exposing students to the companies that are around them, because those are career opportunities. That's great for the companies and great for the universities as well. So I'll share a little bit about HatchBridge and what that is. I have been at Kennesaw a grand total of 6 whole months. So since January of this last year. So I'm fairly new at Kennesaw. Kennesaw, you know Kennesaw likely. If you live here, you know what Kennesaw is. But from a sense of scale and growth perspective, Kennesaw has grown mightily over the last decades, right? There are 43,000 students at Kennesaw now. It's a lot of students. And with that growth, I think comes the desire to be more engaged in the community and better connect our startups to the students, the resources of the university. And I've gotten to come in and play a role where I get to build an incubator and then also work on commercialization projects. So my background at Georgia Tech is in largely commercialization, which is going into the labs, working with faculty members, PhD students, grad students. What did you invent? How does it work? And where do we think that can be applied? How do we understand what the market looks like and go build a business model around that technology? So I get to do that at Kennesaw as well. Kennesaw is a little more nascent in research organization and structure than Georgia Tech is. Georgia Tech is this massive research conglomerate, and Kennesaw's got a really healthily growing portfolio that is great to see. So trying to build the right incentives and structures now so that turns into startups well and it turns into impact into community well, I think is really important as we build and scale. And right now, I get to spend a lot of time building this thing called HatchBridge. HatchBridge is a business incubator that is associated with the Kennesaw State University Research and Service Foundation. So we are community facing. You don't have to have a KSU affiliation of a student or faculty or anything to work with us. What we are looking for is businesses that are in the community that are they have a model that can scale. They have something that can scale. And we want to work with them. We want to help them build their business models. We are early. So our first cohort started July 1, which is like 32 days ago. So we have 9 companies in the first cohort. You can see their things on the wall here. We're very focused around accountability for these companies. They're at very different stages, right? We've got companies that are about to close around a pre-seed round of $3 million to companies that have no revenue and an idea, and they're just starting out, to faculty startups, to student companies. So it's a smattering of different types of companies. There's not a lot of, I'll say focus, that's the wrong word. There's not a sector that all these companies come from. But what we're trying to do is serve those companies where they are, provide them mentorship and coaching, provide them with access to the resources that they need in the moment that they're at as founders, and then provide accountability. So once a week we get together and we talk about, hey, where are you at? What did you say you were going to get done last week? Did we get that done? It's okay if we did, but let's talk about why, let's talk about what, and what's important for the coming week. So try and provide some structure and accountability for people that are going through this, because it doesn't really matter what stage you're at. You need, as a founder, some structure and some accountability, and we want to help provide that. So we have a physical space, and we want to be an open collaboration studio, right? That helps the local entrepreneurs build and experiment with their companies, because everyone in this early stage, they're running experiments. You're testing assumptions in the market, you're testing assumptions with your product, and we want to provide, I don't know, an environment that understands that you're testing these assumptions. You're trying different products, you're trying different services, you're seeing how your customers react to that, and you're making different assumptions or testing different assumptions about building and growing your business too. So we have a physical space that is down off of Chastain Road. If you know where KSU Center is, it's the old outlet mall that's turned into a bunch of different stuff for Kennesaw. If you know where the old credit union was in the KSU Center, that's where HatchBridge is. We're an old credit union, and I've done our best to make it feel a little less credit union, but we're working on it. So we have physical space, but we don't want to just be physical space, because the reality is entrepreneurs don't always need space. The people that are here at the circuit don't need another office down off of Chastain to need, to be connected to coaching or mentorship. That's not what they're looking for. And our job is to serve people outside these walls, build programs that serve the community, and we're looking for ways to do that. So that's some of the framing here is always, I know, a fresh start, challenges and questions for y'all. The thing that I want y'all to think about as we walk through this presentation is, what are the clusters of businesses that we should be serving here in Cherokee or the surrounding areas? What are those clusters? Where do they exist? How do we serve them? And what can we do to be more than just walls? Walls are great. I'm very thankful that we have space, right? It's good to have a spot to gather. But in 2023, now more than ever, more and more people work from their house or want to work 20 minutes from where they live, or they have brick and mortar space that they need to be in every day, and they don't need an office, right? Our team is pretty solid, if I say so myself. I have the experience that you've heard already and don't want to hear more about. Graham is fantastic. He is my colleague and partner, and he comes to us as a serial founder. He spent time at Techstars, which is one of the leading accelerators in the nation, and has a wealth of experience in early stage business model development, in fundraising, early stage specifically, and we work really well together with our different backgrounds with the company. So he's a good guy to have, and it's a lot of fun. Cohort 1, these are the companies that are engaged with us right now. We have, I think, actually 9 companies. We added a company since I made these slides. So we have 9 companies now. But I'll talk about the ones that are on these slides. We have one faculty startup. They're taking faculty research on mushroom growth and turning that into technology that allows people to farm mushrooms in a container. So they take a shipping container and outfit it with a temperature and humidity control device, and they run those profiles and help grow mushrooms pretty much on demand. So they're building technology for that. We have 4 teams that came from the Student Entrepreneurship Center. Some of those are still students, a couple of those. Most of them have alumni baked into them now, recent alumni of KSU. And they are building and growing. So KSU's got an entrepreneurship center that's focused largely on students. I get to spend about 25% of my time over there. It's a great facility, it's a great program. But as these companies start to build, as we have alumni that are spending all of their time on their startups, they need a spot to be, and they need a spot that they can have an office or come in for conversations on. Yesterday we helped a company reincorporate because they screwed their cap table up. And if they want to go raise money, they need to have a cleaner cap table. So that's the type of thing that we just help with. And he just walked in and said, hey, I need help with this. Can you do it now? And we want to be available for that type of thing. We have 3 community startups as well. And now the smattering of people attached here is, we've got alums. We have some people just straight from the community that have no ties to KSU directly. And we want more of those folks. I don't really care where they come from. I don't care if they came out of the student corps. I don't care if they're faculty. I don't care if they're not attached to KSU at all. I think what I want to see is a community that is focused on building companies, that is asking the hard questions and not just glossing over the easy stuff. Because I think it's really easy, having been around a number of programs, to end up with a program that kind of settles in and gets comfortable and doesn't challenge entrepreneurs and doesn't speak truth with empathy. And that's really important. I think it's really important as entrepreneurs to get that type of feedback directly and to have people that will challenge you and ask those questions. So we're trying really hard to build that. We have a shared discussion once a week where we get together over lunch and talk through their previous week and what they're working on next week, have some accountability, and work through whatever's happening there. They get one-on-one mentorship either from me or Graham every week. They get to sit down with us for an hour, for a couple hours. They get time. We both built companies, and so our time building their company, helping them solve problems, we hope help add some value to them. And then, we think the community is really important. Having peers that are going through similar problems at similar times, just even talking through lunch, knowing who's dealing with the same types of issues, co-founder challenges, tough conversations you have to have in your company, things like that. It's the grind that gets real personal for entrepreneurs, right? It's the things that can impact you emotionally. And it's really important to us that we encourage healthy people throughout this entire process, because Graham likes to say, healthy people build healthy companies. Okay, so one of the things that we do is this thing called Hike with HatchBridge. And we've done 3 of them now, and should add the 3rd picture. Hike with HatchBridge is about getting out and enjoying nature and talking. There are plenty of Thursday night happy hours in Atlanta for people that want to do startup stuff. And our thesis is that no one in the suburbs really wants another evening event that they have to go to and stand around and have awkward conversations with a drink. Like your guy. What we do have that Midtown and Buckhead don't have is a mountain. And we go out to Kennesaw Mountain and we enjoy a hike up it. Actually, full disclosure, July we did a flat trail in the shade. It was like 92 at 10 a.m. But this is open every 4th Friday of the month. If you're just interested in some conversation with some entrepreneurs, come hike with us. It'll be hot in August. It'll probably be hot in September. But you get over sweat. So come on out and hike with us. We want to have you. All right, so there are ways that people can engage with us. I'm less interested in selling the space, and I'm more interested in selling the community here. Actually, all my space is full, so I can't sell you space. I've got hot desks. I don't have any dedicated desks. We'll start with dedicated desks. Dedicated offices, I have 5 of those. I have 5 companies in them right now. We do 4-month leases, 4-month licenses from the state for their space. The thought process there is we want them to have the opportunity to leave if that's not what's best for them. We want to have the opportunity to have them leave if they're not using the space or collaborating in the community. No knock. I don't mind if they're not using it. But I have other people that will. And we're kind of optimizing for energy right now. Right? New community, you need energy, not empty space. Hot desks, we have some space right now. I will say this is cubes and brown chairs. The cubes are going away. But we do have hot desks. We'll have some more flexible space here shortly. So that's just kind of the people that don't need to sit in an office or don't have a team that wants to come in and work on a weekly basis, but they still want to drop in occasionally. We love having those folks there. And we have a digital community that we're launching, and that is for people who have a brick and mortar space or don't need to be physically in our space at all during the week, but still need the connection to entrepreneurs and might want to come to that weekly or monthly gathering that helps them connect with other entrepreneurs and know what's happening in the community, and hopefully get the advice and the the mentorship that they need. And they get what I've already said: coaching, resources, and accountability. You know what accountability is. You know what talking to me is like, because you're doing it right now. In the middle is resources. We have a content studio that we've stood up, a green screen, about $10,000 worth of camera and lighting equipment. It doesn't matter what your business is, you're going to have to create content. We know that. And we want to make that, not every business can go buy a setup like that and go build content. So we're building common resources that the community can come in and use on an as-needed basis. The other thing that we're getting up and running, and we don't have all up and running yet, is a rapid prototyping lab. So we've got 3D printers coming in. We have a laser cutter on premises so people can do rapid prototyping for small devices or different inventions. You can see how stuff feels in their hands or looks after they come up with it in CAD. Right? In the future, HatchBridge is likely to have additional space. I don't know what this looks like yet. I'm vision casting at the moment. So I would love a future where HatchBridge has numerous locations north of the perimeter in the metro area. A place where we are out in the community serving entrepreneurs of different types in different locations with different types of problems, different sectors. I'll just observe the type of people, the type of entrepreneurs immediately surrounding the KSU Kennesaw campus. It's different from the businesses surrounding the KSU Marietta campus. I would love a space. I've got an angle grind, so we're working on hardware up here. I would love a space that has the ability for us to do hardware fabrication and hardware service, because I think that that's something that Atlanta doesn't have, something that we haven't built and haven't served. Connection and mentors. This is right now on a very as-needed basis for the startup. So who is the startup, what are the problems they're going through, and how do we work with them? That could mean partnership with Cherokee on the nav system. At some point, it could mean building out a program specifically for different locations based off of those needs. We will see. And we're working on a venture creation program, which is an idea. You walk in with an idea, you want to start something. How do you start? Like what's the roadmap look like? What tool sets do you need? And this is, I'll call it a program, this workshop. Our thesis here is entrepreneurs make horrible students. Well, horrible students make good entrepreneurs. And the last thing entrepreneurs want is a classroom where they have to sit in. In universities, we forget that. Everything's a curriculum, everything's a program, everything's a class. So we're trying to make that a workshop that's based off of here's tool sets and frameworks you're going to need to use as you go take your idea and take it to market. What's that look like? What's that process look like? All right, I've talked a lot, so I'm going to talk less. Q&A for y'all. As we're building and growing, these are the things that I'm trying to figure out. Obviously, a lot of this is time and community, understanding who the people are that we can serve, understanding the businesses that are around us, but what groups of companies, what sectors can we serve in Cherokee? Because I talking about multiple locations across the Atlanta area, I think that those are going to end up having more value to the entrepreneurs when there is some commonality in the type of business that they're trying to build. Having a vertical focus is something that's worked well in a number of other university incubators in different settings. And so, groups of companies, what are the sectors? What are the common themes that we're seeing? What do you need as an entrepreneur? Do you need programs, workshops, space, one-on-one mentoring, someone to come and sit down and have an honest conversation with you? And then how else? Like, what else should we be doing? How else can we serve you? Because this is, like, what we've come up with so far is a list. It's based off of our experience in startups and around incubators, but there's stuff that we aren't thinking of. There's stuff that we don't have the resources right now to do that I'd love to figure out how to do, and I want to make sure we're listening. So these are the questions that I have. We're still very much a startup too. We're doing experiments, right? Just like our entrepreneurs are. What are the market assumptions? There's an assumption that someone's going to come and use the content studio, right? I already have some early proof that that's starting to have interest to certain companies. But those are assumptions. We're testing assumptions and running experiments just like everyone else. So that's me, that's HatchBridge. I'll stop talking so that y'all can ask questions or answer questions. Missy.
What are the types of companies that are in your first
First cohort, we have 2 ed tech companies. The question was, what are the types of companies in the first cohort? We have 2 ed tech companies. One is, 2 ed tech companies, one financial, I'll call it fintech. It's a financing company. They are doing some really interesting stuff. We have a company that's doing recommendation system around movies and TV that's platform agnostic instead of just pushing more program like Netflix recommends Netflix programs, it turns out. Amazon Prime wants you to watch more stuff on Amazon Prime. And so they're trying to build a cross-platform recommendation system. We have a company that is doing robotics work. They're working right now on a prototype for a product for kind of 360 view around a vehicle. So kind of situational awareness camera for the top of the vehicle that tracks motion. So that's 4 of them. We have a company that is a landscape company now. It has a vision of building community spaces that also serve mental health. So we're working on how does he transition that model a little bit differently. We have the fact that we started building mushrooms. Sorry, I'm running down my wall here. Does this go back? It does. This might help. ESI. We have a company building an exoskeleton. They're going right now through the Georgia Tech Create X program. It's a couple of KSU students, a couple of Georgia Tech students. They have an exoskeleton. Their target market right now is serving athletes that want resistance training, doing certain actions, and they can just put on an exoskeleton that provides resistance training while they're doing those things. Okay, that's it.
I think it's great. You have former students or current students?
They're current students. They're current students at Tech.
And students from KSU that are collaborating, because when we were doing our immersion training at MIT, there was definitely a lot of cross collaboration with Harvard students and MIT students, and so I love that that's happening here.
And that happened very naturally. We didn't cultivate that collaboration. That came out of a competition that was a robotics design competition, and they built their own team based off of friends that they knew, and they won that competition. Got an invite to the Create X program at Georgia Tech. Create X launch is a summer-long accelerator, largely for students out of Tech. It's a fantastic program. They get a lot of exposure, a lot of training. If you're interested in that type of thing, their demo day is on August 31st of this year. If you want to go see what a bunch of students are coming out of Tech looks like, go sign up for demo day and go check that out. But ESI will be down there. They'll have the exoskeleton.
The reason I asked is I just wondered if you could start to see what your verticals that you may want to concentrate on, even just from your first cohort.
That's a great question. No, I think our thesis is that the ed tech and fintech and the software stuff is more likely to be around the KSU campus or the Kennesaw campus, and that we're more likely to see hardware plays down out of the engineering program around Lockheed. GTRI is down off of Dobbins. There's a ton of hardware companies in that industrial space down there, and we've got a company building, the mushroom shipping container company, right? They can't find space right now for building these things. They're trying to figure out where do they build hardware? How do they go build hardware without signing a 5-year lease with a traditional CRE? Commercial real estate does not know how to handle startups that are going to need something very different in a year than they need right now.
Hey, Colin. Thanks for the presentation. I have a question on when you ask about the groups of companies that you can serve in the community. In my mind, it creates a little bit of a weird dynamic.
Sure.
Because on one hand, I see the value of what you present in the sense that it is a neutral space where various types of businesses can come in and receive a level of service. But on the other hand, it seems like you want to have some affinities when you use the phrasing groups of companies, which by its very nature may start to identify you with certain things that may preclude people from coming to you.
Sure.
Because they may say, oh, well, they do more finance, or they're more into tech, or they're more into manufacturing. So is it that you want to be more neutral player that provides core values, maybe 4 or 5 different things that you say, this applies to various businesses regardless of type, and then we customize the fringe? Or do you want to have core affinities and say, we primarily focus on finance or manufacturing? So which is it?
No, it's a great question, and I think there's a tension there. I don't really want to get rid of that tension, if I'm honest with you. I don't know if I should be a very generalist incubator that doesn't have major focus, or if we should have different locations that have dramatically specific verticals. But the reality is, when I go hire someone as an entrepreneur in residence or someone with entrepreneurial experience, they have experience in a given field. And I'm naturally going to, I'm looking for different people depending on the grouping of companies that I have. If I have a hardware space that has common machining facilities and space where we go use an angle grinder and build real hardware, that's probably going to push me in the direction of someone who's built hardware before, right? From a hiring perspective. That's not meant to exclude people that are doing software or that aren't building that type of hardware or that don't need those programs. But I do have to figure out what common infrastructure to invest in from an incubator and business model perspective. Like, what does that look like? How do we grow those environments? An example for you is one of the incubators out of one of the other universities in Southern. They have a great group. They have a satellite location where they do incubation in Meadow, Georgia. It is focused on agriculture because that is the community that surrounds Meadow. Now, that's not to say they don't want other people, right? Their main campus in downtown Statesboro. I almost said Greensboro. I'm like, that's not right. In downtown Statesboro is not focused on ag. It's very much focused on retail and hospitality, right? Now, that's not to say they exclude other people. There are people that are in downtown Statesboro that aren't hospitality or retail. But when they go to hire people, when they go to design common programs, it's when you start to have those groupings of people, there's a tension between the amount of focus a program has and the amount of value you get out of it, right? So someone building a software company is not going to get the same value out of a certain speaker as someone building a retail brick-and-mortar business that has to have reliable foot traffic. There are very different challenges that you face in those businesses, and I want to make sure that we are receptive to kind of pivoting our direction based off of the people that surround us that want to engage, because not everyone wants to engage, right?
Okay, I guess I say it more like maybe a little more hub-and-spoke-ish in nature,
Yes.
in the sense that when you say hiring, I think bringing in someone that's, say, in financial management, right? Because business management is kind of a central core skill versus doing your mushroom growth. That's a little different, but they still need to have the accounting and structural piece of it.
For sure. And we'll still have ways to provide any business that type of core thing. It's just that the types of resources I need to bring in for a hardware company is different than a software company that's building an app. Or, and it might be a fintech company that's building an app. I want to support those folks too. But that's very different from, the guy that's trying to build landscaping facilities for the common good and for mental health. Those are different business models. And I just want to make sure that we're receptive to those groupings. And I don't walk in with preconceived notions. Entrepreneurs a lot of times fail because you walk in with preconceived notions about who your customers are and what value propositions they care about. And I want to be very receptive to that.
Colin, one, Go Jackets.
Go Jackets.
But what I was gonna, kind of two questions. Do you work with pre-ID? Meaning, I'm kind of thinking of, hey, serial entrepreneur or an entrepreneur in training or whatever. They want to solve a problem, they just don't necessarily know which problem to solve. Do you work with companies like that or entrepreneurs like that?
Yeah, I think we should. Now, again, what types of programs we engage with, and right now we have one cohort, and I'm working on a second program. I think that we want to engage with those people because, by and large, the companies that come through, some of those people might have a complete team. Some of those people do not in any way, shape, or form have a complete team. They are looking for people to come alongside and help build with them.
And there's always a certain type of person that they're going to start something, they're going to build something, but they just don't have the idea.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, so I'm sure if there's a certain type of industry that's building up, there's going to be a need for support industries or companies to support them. So you can connect an entrepreneur with those ideas of what we're trying to cover here. The other question is kind of a cheesy one, but was that venture one? Is that from Marco? Like thinking of from venture creation, I'm assuming you probably took your workshop.
No, actually, we're building a workshop from scratch.
No, you mean like I was kind of joking. You got your MBA in tech through Marco's class.
I did get my MBA through that. We're doing a different program though.
Okay.
I love you some further tech.
Did you take a class with Marco?
Yeah, I should. He's great.
I can like bring back up before you even start asking a question. Okay, so actually piggyback a little bit on that is when you have the content studio, I was thinking about like Canon Studios and Gianni. Is there a way to actually partner with those services that you're doing with an entrepreneur that's just getting started nearby in the community as opposed to recreating the space? Like where you are?
Sure.
Because I think that would be really cool for each one of those pockets is partnering with someone. And I think you and I talked about this, but I might have slept once since I talked to you. Is like up at Radio Enterprises, they have all of that amazing manufacturing millwork opportunities and a huge training space. So maybe just finding those connections and plugging in to people who are already doing it to build a bigger community.
Yeah, I'll say that we're very open to partnerships like that. I think there's a balance we have to strike between telling, most of the startups we're working with have zero budget.
Correct.
Right? And zero budget makes them a really bad customer for a content studio.
Correct.
It also makes them really good to go figure out how to hack something together and make it work for now and build a minimum viable product to get them in front of customers and get them some money to go pay someone. So I would love that. I think that we will see more of that as our companies mature a bit.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Eloquently spoken on here today. Question for your companies, for your vertical that you're looking at, as a father of three, and as someone who's a part of the Cherokee County, you've noticed the bustling families coming in, things of that nature. Have you guys ever looked at looking into the indoor entertainment facility? Did you ever go to Sunshot or Nitro Zone?
I know of them. I've not been to them.
All right, so they were a buffed up version of Entrance.
Okay.
To where it was everything. You had something for the parents and the bar and the restaurant, the bowling lanes, go-karting, courses, things of that nature. Looking at if you were to do a vertical, have you guys looked into indoor entertainment to facilitate for household and for households, and then just moving vertically that way?
I'm very open to it. The two that have crossed my mind that are here locally, one is gyms. And I'm not just saying that because you run a gym, but the business model for a gym is something that a lot of people have figured out how to hack fairly well here in the last decade. But it's still, there's variations on that model and on that theme that make it tougher or harder in certain areas. And I think that's a world. We have entrepreneurs here. We have KSU alum that have built successful gym companies, and I would love to leverage that experience and that knowledge. So I've less thought about broadening that towards indoor entertainment, but I think it could absolutely be done. Again, I think I view these things less as it has to be this type of business, and the business model is similar, right? If it's a subscription model and you have a physical space and you figure out how your physical space is being mapped out, those are similar types of problems to other things that aren't gyms that have physical space and have to think about physical, those are the same problems. And how do we find, I don't want to, and when I say groups of companies, I didn't say industry, you understand? There are things that are cross-industry that have similar business model problems. And I want to bring that community of people together because I think there's places where certain industries can learn from another industry on how to solve that specific problem. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Can
I'm curious about your process for vetting companies that want to join, and then what it looks like going through. Is this typically a 3-month, a 6-month, a year thing, and you kind of kick them out of the nest and let them fly? How does that, what do you envision?
Some of that is TBD. The process to vet companies right now is I need to know that they have a scalable model, and I need to know that they're coachable, and that they're going to show up. That will change with time, right? When I started with empty space and no companies, and so to go from no companies to some companies, we picked the cohort model because it fundamentally creates scarcity, right? A bunch of people are going to go to these offices. Do you want one, right? And I'm trying to optimize for energy in the space. So some of the how long can they stay is based off of are they leveraging the resources that we have. There's going to be a point, I really hope, for each of these companies that they don't need me. They don't need the space, they don't need the coaching, they have the network, they know they're pulling more off of other entrepreneurs than they are off of me. The job in the university incubator space is to make yourself obsolete. You want people to leave and graduate and not stay there. Different companies in different industries are going to take different amounts of time, and how long do you stay question? We don't have firm rules on that yet, as long as you're engaged and working through the system. Mr. Chairman. KSU alum, Lee Carter.
Hey, bud, super proud of you. And a lot of people who don't know you can't appreciate that as you're starting this up, you're also working diligently as our city councilman and mayor pro tem. So thank you for double timing on our behalf. Something you said that really hit home, as a lot of, I see entrepreneurs in here, how to speak truth with empathy could not hit home hard enough, because entrepreneurship is the loneliest job, and by bringing entrepreneurs together, you're able to produce something better. So kudos to that. Help me understand, and help others understand, what's the win for KSU going outside of the campus, and then how do you prove a revenue model when you're giving back and you're giving out so much, you're taking very little in, and is it heavy grant oriented to begin with?
Great question. The value for KSU is showing value to the community. By and large, so put on my time in Georgia Tech hat, every year we had to create a metrics, a report of metrics for each organization that shows what we did, what impact we had, et cetera, et cetera. It's a state university, right? These are publicly funded entities that need to have impact in their community, and there's ways they can have impact beyond just classes. And I'm really excited that Kennesaw is diving into that world and spending a bit more time engaging with the community around them. And it's just, I enjoy getting to do that. We're still figuring out what those metrics are. I have been on the other side of reporting metrics that feel like they maybe became less relevant 10 years ago. And I want to make sure that we pick those well. Because once you start reporting metrics, it's really hard to change them. Once you build infrastructure and systems, it's so hard to change it within a large organization. So impact is going to be companies that we serve. It's going to be the impact for those companies. The things that we've said we're going to measure is revenue growth for the companies. It's going to be how many people they're employing. And it's going to be if they're raising funds. Now, I have very little impact on a lot of all of that. But I want their success to be our success. It feels like the number of people they're employing and the revenue growth they have is their success. And we should be celebrating that and focusing on that. Hopefully that answers both why universities engage in this way, but also what we're going to be measuring. Revenue model. These things don't make money at any university. Now, I absolutely am going to diversify revenue sources and find grants and sponsorships and corporate engagements and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like there's ways to design break-even models, but these things don't make money. And I think that's okay, because I think if they can have outsized impact on the businesses they work with, there's an economic development angle here. I want each of these companies to build and grow and stay in the North Metro arc. The thing I didn't mention here yet, and I'll say it right now, we're building a brand around Built in the Burbs. There are so many people that live in the suburbs of Atlanta. It's 87% of the population of Metro Atlanta lives in the suburbs. And yet the culture kind of hints towards this: if you're not inside the perimeter and not from Atlanta, then you're not real. Because there's a lot of us. There's a lot of us that have built a lot of things. There's a lot of successful entrepreneurs that have moved here with, for their kids. There are a lot of people that have retired here that have built real businesses. And it's time to say, I'm proudly building in the burbs. Like we're here, we're building near our houses, we're going to co-working space like the circuit, we're finding space that works for us, we're working out of our garages, but we're building things that matter in the burbs. And you'll see a battle cry from us on that as time goes on, because I think it's really important that we, as a community of people, let's talk about what we're building. Let's talk about the businesses that are here. Let's talk about the retired CEOs that serve as mentors, that give back to the community. Let's talk about the things that are being built. It's time for us to say that. Let's stop preaching.
Any other questions? We have a couple. Should we go back to your questions?
Sure.
Have we answered your questions?
I mean, I don't know. Elizabeth has more to say. Shocking.
Really, one thing that I would love to see, and I don't know how you would focus on this, like as a vertical, is just the people in the professional services space. And how do you make that into a productizing? I think there's a lot of need from that, including for me, but for a lot of people that we talk with, I think that would be awesome. And then also, how do we help you? That's my other question. Is how do we help HatchBridge?
If you run into someone that needs anything that I do, like send it to me and I'll go have coffee. I'll buy them coffee. Just send me one. That's how you help. Professional services space. The other one that I didn't mention when I was answering MJ's question, because I'm real long-winded, is agencies, digital agencies. Is a vertical that I could see having a real play somewhere in the North Metro.
Especially event studio.
But I also think that, again, coming back to what problems do different models deal with across industry and professional services, probably has a lot of the same challenges that those business models do. So I think it can be brought in that direction. It's a great idea.
I'm going to sign up first. Can I put my name on that waiting list?
You can put your name on the waiting list. Come get my card from me. My email's easy, y'all. It's Kate@Kennesaw. Okay? So if you need me, that's my email, Kate@Kennesaw. And, follow us on the LinkedIn's. And the LinkedIn's more active than Instagram's right now, but we'll update that with time. But thank you all for the time. I sincerely appreciate getting this opportunity to chat and hear your input. I look forward to seeing you all down at HatchBridge.
Thank you so much. It's nice to kind of have a hybrid presentation where we had challenges pitched, but also sharing a local resource with you and learned a little bit about entrepreneurship along the way. So thank you so much for that. So our next presentation will be on August 16th. So the third Wednesday, we go back to Reformation Brewery in Canton. We'll have Alpha Site, which is a digital marketing firm for our skilled trades companies. And so please come out and support him. Alexander Bryant will share his challenges, his pains, what keeps him up at night. We'd love to have you in the audience to help him solve those problems. And then, as always, connect with us. When you get sick of us, you can unsubscribe. But for now, please stay engaged with us, connect with us, share our resources that we have available on all of our outlets. And of course, you can go to CherokeeGeorgia.org, or if you just want to learn about Fresh Start Mornings, Cherokee.com. We have our own page. It has the dates. It has the upcoming workshops. If you want to know kind of who's teed up for September and October, we have the schedule built out. We're still working on November and December. If you know of anybody that you think would be a great workshop for our small businesses, local entrepreneurs here, several of you have been to our workshops, please keep us in mind. If you know of a business that you think would be great to stand here and share their challenges and would be comfortable sharing in front of a group of people that are going to give them solutions and advice, please connect with us. I failed at the beginning of the morning to do introductions. And so I know you normally do it on the front end. I'm actually going to do it on the back end. So I would love for y'all to know who's in the room in case there's somebody that you want to connect with. COVID has actually grown a little bit over the last couple of weeks, and we have some new team members in the room, and I'd like them to be able to introduce themselves as well. So, due to time, and I know everybody's itching to get out of here, name and company, I'm going to pass it real quick so you know these. You know Colin, sorry, you don't need to introduce yourself.
Mike Sena, certified financial planner.
Michael Johnson, NYX Training Center.
Ray Krim, I'm one of the mentors of the NAB program, and I'm retired.
Sean Strobel, Bank of America. Nick Carberry, Circle of Friends.
Jordan Peace, The Intentionals, it's virtual assistants for small businesses. Madison Blue, Maine Mercantile. Courtney Howard, Keeney Company. Hannah Garrison with the Cherokee Office of Economic Development.
Heath Dippers, Cherokee Office of Economic Development. Good to see everybody.
Misty Martin, co-ed.
Vanna Hernandez with co-ed.
One of our new team members.
Elizabeth Peace with the Intentionals, Organizational and Operations work. This is Gerald, and he's annoying.
Gerald Griffith, Corporate Publishing.
Elise Holcomb with Office of Economic Development.
So she's our newest member, social communications marketing. She's one thing we're here today. Going to promote you. Good job.
Thomas Kislet with the Office of Co-ed, Project Manager for Entrepreneurship and Innovation.
I'm Molly Mercer. I'm with Co-ed as well.
I'm Katie Joy Peace, also with The Intentionals, focusing on youth coaching.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, anybody? Sir? Nope. This says no. All right, guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much for being here, and try to connect with someone that you don't know in the room before you leave today. And we hope to see you on August 16th for Information Brewery. We're not serving beer, but we're serving coffee.
Pretty good quality here.
Oh, we already are. Okay. Maybe.
Yeah, no,
Okay, excellent. We're having some trouble. I can be my first one too. Well, nice to meet you.
Cool. Well,